Good afternoon. We are here to present the negative influence of microtransaction and our possible solutions. Our argument is the introduction of microtransaction has many negative influence on players both economically and socially. We believe that our solution in different aspects might improve the situation. So here is our significance. Okay, fine. I will just go through. So I will discuss microeconomic aspect of our research. So after our research, we believe that microtransaction will lead to players' financial loss. Due to the addictive interface of gaming of a lot of video games, a small spending in the game could lead to a large spending later. Nowadays, many games have introduced different kinds of induced gaming policies, such as starter packs or battle pass that force players to stay online for longer hours. Moreover, since a lot of microtransaction systems are purely based on random number generators, which is completely controlled by gaming companies, there is an unfair trade between the players and the company. So here is our solution. We believe that if we have this, since those games are based on random number generator and log-based implementation, we believe that if we provide transparent statistics before the game, the players could get an understanding about what this kind of system looks like, so that they can make a better decision. Moreover, we believe that the pricing and the currencies should be transparent in front of all players through a consumer agreement. However, we do not discover particular evidence regarding the relationship between ages and incomes. So here is my solution, and here is the data.
And I'm going to introduce our topic from the perspective of psychology, especially for the individual psychological states after the effect of gambling became serious. And here is my reasoning. So the loot box, which is a common strategy adapted from the game industry, derived from the in-game microtransaction, will lead to problem gambling. And this problem gambling will further develop mental disorders of the individual players, and that may cause serious problems like suicide and increase the overall mortality of the individuals. And here's, according to my research, the previous study has done the large-scale survey, and that suggests there is a strong link between the in-game item expenditure and the severity of the problem gambling. As shown in this graph, you can see there is an overall positive association between the amount spent on the loot box game and the severity of problem gambling. And other studies also indicate that the rate of suicide is 5.3 times higher in the individuals with this kind of problem gambling than those normal people. So according to my research, I provide solutions to limit the time spent on the video game. So the less the consumer spend on the video games, the less they will have this kind of problem gambling. And also cultivating professions in mitigating the problem gambling, such as some psychologists will also solve these kind of questions.
Now I'm talking about social development issues, that is discrimination between players. And when a normal player see another player who spend a lot of money in the games that play a huge dominancy in the game, and they will just make some comparisons and like between the game in the games or other games like the social status, and after that it will be frustrated, and that will lead to a poor inter-cooperation. And this is our evidence. And according to my research, that approximately 80% of players just spend a minimum amount of money, like $10 for fuel, but there's over 70% of the revenue that is made by the rest of the 20% of the player that spend a huge amount of money. And this is the data. And according to this, that most of the player agrees that the ability and the skill of the normal player that didn't spend money in the game just play better, and and more players that hopes that players that spend money will just fail later. And this is our solution, that we're gonna that it should create a better gaming environment by balancing game items, which like every player could get equally items.
And here's our conclusion. So from the three perspectives we have introduced, the in-game microtransaction will pose a negative impact on the individual players, as we state, on the mental health, financial condition, and social interconnections. So according to our research, these kind of problems can be solved by limiting the time spent on the video games and cultivating professions in solving the problem gambling from the psychological perspective, and create the trade term policy that gives the transparency in the in-game microtransactions from the microeconomic perspective, and finally create a better game environment by balance the in-game items that consumers can get from the perspective of social development. And that's our citation. That's the
all right. Student A, question for you is.
I'm student A.
What is an example of compelling argument from one of your peers' individual research that you decided to exclude, not include, exclude from your team presentation, and why?
Part of the compelling argument I'd like to exclude is the psychological part of student B. I believe that the most important part would be the gambler effect, and it is kind of redundant to talk more about the physical and mental health aspect of the game, of the microtransaction.
If what is it? Reflecting on your colleague's argument, which one had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem you're going to identify?
Well, I think the perspective of students A, argument has the most reflections on my perspective, since the perspective of our topic on the microeconomic is highly linked with my perspective as a psychology. So as students A states that the microtransaction in game will pose great financial loss of the individual players, I can get more intuitions on that effects on the psychological states of the individual players. So that's probably why, yeah.
If you had another team member, what other perspective or limitation could they have researched that would have made a useful contribution to this project?
I think if I have another player, maybe I will add some mathematical some support and evidence that maybe just better support the problem that student A didn't find out, like the connection between age and the amount of the money that's spent in the game.
Thank you.